I have 4 barbers within 5 to 7 minutes of my office. One of them is not very good, so I don't go there. One is by appointment only, which was not the case 10 years ago. Another only does walk-ins between 10 a.m. and noon and from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. on weekdays, as well as all day Saturday. The last one accepts walk-ins at all times. Every time I walk in, whether it is 15 minutes before they open, you can call ahead to ask if you can walk in, during lunch hour, or at 3 p.m. on a Tuesday. They are always very busy. Seriously, how often are you getting your haircut? Edit. Not to mention, a walk-in now costs $35, and the cheapest appointment is $50. This applies to both walk-in locations. Story 1. Many businesses switched to appointment-only service during the height of the pandemic and never changed back. There is an entire strip mall next to my local grocery store that had a nail salon, hair salon, barber, massage parlor, and dog groomer. All of them went appointment only, and only some have relaxed that policy over the years. Many businesses made temporary changes that are now permanent because operations run more smoothly that way and industry norms have changed. Story 2. If a barber is any good and in a populated area, he is going to get fully booked. I text my barber a few days in advance and he usually gets me a spot, but sometimes it is a week or so out. Other than a half-hour lunch, he is usually completely booked from open to close. He books in half-hour increments, so he will try to squeeze someone in if they have a simple haircut. I get a bald fade, so it takes about 25 to 30 minutes because he is meticulous with it. Story 3. I think it is because of the internet. Online booking means much less time answering phones and much more time cutting hair. I imagine most customers prefer to make an appointment when it is as easy as a couple of taps on a mobile phone. Since many haircut shops rent chairs to independent contractors, they can plan staffing better. That said, there are still plenty of places in my neighborhood in a mid-sized city where I can walk in and get a haircut for $30. Story 4. I will use this opportunity to ask, how often do you cut your hair? Mine can easily go 3 to 4 months without a haircut, but it feels like some people do it at least once a month. Story 5. Honestly, going bald enough to start shaving was the best thing to happen to me before COVID-19. The cheapest haircuts are still $30 and are of poor quality. I used to pay $30 for a haircut, shave, and a hot towel. Story 6. Honestly, I like it better this way. No walking in and potentially waiting 40 minutes for the person you prefer. I can plan around when my haircut will be. Story 7. My barber likes to know how much work he has that day. He may take a walk-in if he is already there and his seat is empty, but otherwise no appointments means he is going fishing. Story 8. My barber went appointment only after coronavirus disease. He is a one-man show and is basically the only decent barber in town, so he has all the business he could ever want. It is easy to make an appointment ahead of time, so I do not mind it. The beats waiting. Story 9. I have sports clips nearby. They are not always the best haircut, but it costs about $25, and I can check the wait time online and add my name to the list. Is there no place like that near you? Story 10. I blame coronavirus and the people who sell black latex gloves because every barbershop in my area bought boxes of those in 2020, and haircuts went from $15 to $30 to $50. Story 11. Based on your description of the places you are going, it is probably to prevent customers from getting upset because they have to wait a long time and cause a scene. It lets people know ahead of time not to come in because they will not be able to receive service promptly. Story 12. There is no value in having walk-in customers. You cannot plan for it, and there are no guarantees on business. I am not a barber, but it makes sense to me. Most, if not all, barbers will take walk-in customers and say things like, I can see you at 11, 12, or whatever time. If they have booked appointments, those should be the priority. My barber charges a fee if you book and do not show up. I think that is a good idea. Nobody respects anyone's time. Story 13. I haven't gone anywhere except the supercuts near my house or job in almost 2 decades. I walk in all the time. Story 14. When I still got my hair cut, I made appointments every 5 weeks. But it got to the point where each visit was costing me $30, and I didn't feel like I had $30 worth of hair left. I decided a couple of years ago that I was just going to shave it. I kept my latest appointment and had her buzz my head with clippers. I gave her a bigger tip than normal and told her I probably wouldn't be back. Now I just buzz it at home every 2 weeks. It is much easier. Story 15. I wandered into an old strip mall with nothing left but a barber 2 months ago. Everything else had been bought up as corporate space. For men were lying around the shop hoping for walk-ins. I had booked online and ended up with the oldest barber I have ever seen in my life. It definitely felt like the whole building was dying with us inside. Story 16. Most of the barbers in my area stopped accepting walk-ins during coronavirus disease 2019 and never returned to accepting them because it makes for a much smoother day where they can provide better customer service. Story 17. Dead, I think, but not all. Yeah, the barber I used to go to, no appointment, decent cut, reasonable price. Quite an old guy. Then the shop was closed for his health reasons or something like that. I don't think it ever reopened, or not for long. Then it closed permanently. My guess is he died. But that doesn't mean decent cuts can't be found at a good price and without an appointment. One may have to shop around. I remember some years back, a coworker and some of his buddies wanted to see what kind of deal on cheap haircuts they had heard about in Chinatown in San Francisco. Yeah, they did get quite the bargain and a decent haircut. They were waiting in line to get their haircut when someone offered them haircuts for an even lower price. They went with that, and it was at least quite good enough and cheap. No appointment needed. Your mileage may vary. Anyway, I just cut my own hair now and have for years. By the time I count the time to get to and from the barber, it's net less total time, cheaper, and I get about exactly what I want. When a haircut was for $5, $6, maybe $8, even 10 or so, but now like 20 or 30 bucks or so, I can get a nice dinner for that. I don't think a basic haircut is worth paying that much for. You know the jingle, shave and a haircut, 2 bits. Yeah, that was 25 cents for a nice hot lather straight edge shave and a haircut. Then again, prevailing wages back then were probably around $1 a day. Story 18. It is helpful as a business owner to have a general idea of how many clients you will see in a given day. Story 19. 4 to 6 weeks. Same here, have to schedule an appointment every time. I see bald men sitting there for 1 hour on the chair chatting with the barber and wasting his time. Meanwhile, I get my full hair and beard done in 15 to 20 minutes. Get a machine or a razor and do it yourself, you bald people. Story 20. In my humble opinion, COVID-19 ended the walk-in haircut. Sports Clips allows walk-ins, but you will just sit there for a long time. My haircut takes about 5 minutes. I bought a pair of clippers and never looked back. If there is another place nearby where you can walk in and get out in a reasonable amount of time, I have yet to find it. Story 21. Where do you live? There are still walk-ins all around for me. I walk into my shop, usually with no wait, and pay $30 for a haircut and beard trim. Story 22. Walk-ins are a thing of the past. I feel like most people, including myself, find a good barber they like and trust, then just book an appointment. Costs $60 these days, and an extra $30 for the beard. Once I finish my appointment, I just rebook for 6 weeks later. Story 23. My barber is very old school. Appointments were a thing during COVID-19, but he stopped them as soon as he could. Walk-in only. Cash only. He knows his craft better than anyone else around. They opened a Mexican barber shop about 4 shops down. Usually, that is my choice. The best haircut I ever had was at another Mexican place in a different town. This one is all kids. I tried 4 times and all were bad. Back to Old Man Joe it is. Story 24. My guy is very close to walking in. Text ahead on the same day. Sometimes has to say not today, tomorrow. It is $35 or $40 for a great cut. Also, we have a bit of a language barrier, so we don't really chat, which is fine with me. Out in 15 minutes. Story 25. I was shocked. I have been overseas for the past few years. Before I left, it cost $20. Now, $35 is the cheapest I could find at a barber, and most want you to book in advance and pay before the appointment with 50% non-refundable. I am glad these barbers are getting paid, but if I lived there full-time, I would buy clippers. Story 26. Mine went to appointments during coronavirus disease 2019, and I got used to just doing it online. I prefer it to sitting and waiting at the barbershop, which costs $20 to $23 for a senior haircut, and I always tip $10. Story 27. Posts like these make me glad I got those fancy clippers about 10 years ago. I just do a quick buzz myself and don't waste a small fortune on haircuts. Story 28. If you say you cut your own hair, you need to post what your haircut looks like and your marriage or relationship status. Story 29. I pay my barber $45, and it takes him about 30 minutes. If he works quickly, he can easily make $90 or more per hour in cash. Story 30. I am a barber in a busy downtown St. Petersburg, Florida barbershop and had 3 walk-ins today. Try other places. Story 31. I think COVID-19 really disrupted the barber industry. When people wanted haircuts, they would call the barber, and the barber would show up. Since barbers were allowed back in shops, it has been appointment only. I genuinely believe COVID-19 made everything appointment only. I used to just walk in, get a haircut, and leave. Now every barber I know operates by appointment only. I think it is better that way. There is no need for a bunch of people in the shop staring at me. Story 32. I go every 2 months. I have known my barber for almost 6 years. I just text him to make sure he is available when I book an appointment online. Story 33. I do not know of any local places where you can just walk in. They are always busy with appointments. Story 34. Yeah, I just have my wife cut my hair now. She isn't a professional, but honestly, it isn't much worse than the places I used to go to. Story 35. I live in a high cost of living area and I have 2 shops that charge $25 for a walk-in appointment within a 10-minute drive that I know of. Story 36. I was lucky enough to live near an old-fashioned barbershop run by a couple of Italian immigrant brothers. They even had the classic spinning barber pole outside when I first started going. Those men cut my hair from when I was 11 or 12 years old in 1985 until I began shaving my head in 2016. It was only walk-ins, no appointments. The last price I paid was $20. Whenever a man in my city was looking for a place to get a haircut, I would heartily recommend them. The brothers retired a year or 2 ago, and another business now occupies the space where their shop was. I suspect old-fashioned barbers like that are becoming rare nowadays, which is why you are having such a difficult time. Story 37. I started buzzing my head this year because I could not do $50 and over 1.5 hours per visit anymore. Story 38. My wife is a hairstylist. Every week fully books the following week. She loves new clients, but 90% of the time, she cannot take them unless they make an appointment 1 week in advance. Story 39. All you are discovering is that good barbers are in demand. In 2025, it is unreasonable to wait somewhere for something like this. Everyone books online. Mine is every 4 weeks at the same time. Story 40. I have gone every 2 weeks for the last 15 years. For the past 3 years, it has been by appointment because I got tired of the variable quality of seeing whoever happened to be available. Story 41. I moved to a new state, a more rural area, recently. I cannot find a walk-in shop for the life of me. Those I talk to say that coronavirus disease changed it, and they just do not need to change it back. Story 42. Even when I schedule an appointment at Supercuts, I end up having to wait. A haircut with a tip is usually under $30, I think. Story 43. I usually cut my own hair, but I have been trying different salons to get a nicer haircut before my wedding. It is frustrating trying to get appointments, but I drove by a place today and randomly decided to stop in. I was in and out in 15 minutes with a very good haircut. I think I found my salon. Story 44. I used to deal with the appointments and money. I loved my barber. Chair time was therapy time. Honestly, we knew a lot about each other's lives. In the end, I got a girlfriend, then married, and now she cuts my hair. I spent the money on a quality set of clippers, and they have paid for themselves many times over. Story 45. Ever since the pandemic, I have been giving myself haircuts. Pretty much, I just buzz my hair every 2 months. Story 46. My barber still provides the service, but I do not want to waste time sitting around a shop. Unfortunately, Life does not work like that anymore. Story 47. I sport a buzz cut and do it myself at home. Takes 10 minutes with a hair clipper I bought at Costco for $60. I have been doing it once a month for 6 years. Story 48. I quit going and learned how to cut my own hair. I just cannot justify the $35 to $50 price tag. I would rather use that money on my children. Story 49. It's something that just doesn't work for barbers anymore. If you have enough clients, then why not set up appointments only? If they don't show up, there is a fee. It makes the day better for both barber and customer. When I was younger, I hated going in as a walk-in. I didn't know if I was going to wait 10 minutes or an hour when my mom would drop me off at the barbershop. Now that I am older, I get to my appointment and am gone in 20 to 25 minutes. Story 50. If the person is skilled, they will want to plan their days in advance. Walk-ins are inconvenient and can cause unnecessary potential chaos. When demand increases, people raise prices and choose who they are willing to work with. Barbers and hairstylists are people too. They have to pay rent and buy food. The prices of these things have been rising. They charge what they need to survive. If you are not willing to pay for their skills and experience, there is likely a great clips location close to you. Alternatively, you can do it yourself and see how that goes. Story 51. Every 2 or 3 weeks, you can check in on the application ahead of time. Many people check in but are not actually there, so the estimated wait time is usually greatly overstated. Story 52. This was a massive shock to me when I moved to the city 3 years ago. Most places you cannot even call. You have to book an appointment on their online portal and provide card information, phone number, and email. It is very frustrating. Story 53. I have many hairdressers near me, but when I tried to visit them for a haircut, each one had the same reaction. They gave me a stunned look when I walked in the door, seemed amazed that I asked for a haircut when they asked if they could help me, then quickly declined and told me I needed an appointment, even though they were empty except for the customer in the chair. It was strange. Story 54. Not my experience. I walked to one about half a mile from my house. It is only 2 guys cutting hair, but there is rarely a significant wait because I go after work on Friday, which is not a particularly popular day for them. Story 55. I can usually get a walk-in haircut for under $20 where I am in the United States. However, when I visited Australia, it cost about 60 Australian dollars, which I did not expect. The cut was great, and he also trimmed my beard and did a much better job than I would get here. Story 56. I'm lucky. The shop I go to accepts walk-ins even if I have to wait a while. It costs $35, but I get it cut short and then grow it out for the next year or year and a half, so it's fine. I would just buzz my own head, but I don't like the way I look with a buzz cut. So, I get one short scissors cut and maintain that until I can't stand having long hair anymore. Story 57. In our smaller town, there are 2 barbershops. One operates by appointment only, which was not the case before the COVID-19 pandemic. The shop I go to accepts walk-ins and cash only and has 2 barbers. A bonus is that they open at 7 a.m. on Saturday mornings, so I can get a haircut before running errands for the week. It is first come, first served. If you want a specific barber, you wait. A haircut costs $15 at the shop I go to, while the appointment-only shop charges between $18 and $20. Story 58. Find a specific barber to get haircuts from and start going on a schedule. I prefer appointments because I can book ahead and get a cut instead of doing walk-in roulette to see how long I am going to wait. I get a cut every 4 to 6 weeks. $40 plus a $10 tip. The point is to stick with a barber long enough for them to perfect your cut. If you keep bouncing around, you are always getting everyone's best first try. Story 59. I knew a barbershop that used to charge $20, but a few years later, the price increased to $40 even though there was no new equipment, no new clippers or lighting, and the store layout remained the same. I just bought my own clippers and said no thank you. Story 60. My barber was walking in during his opening week. Then his clientele skyrocketed, and he had no option but to go appointment only. Men are wanting to take more care of their appearance these days, so quality barbers are hard to find, especially since there has not been a proper barbering apprenticeship for a long time. It was not a popular profession, so it was merged into hairdressing. This was told to me by a 30-year barber who cuts my hair. That said, he trains his employees as if they were apprentices, and they are all extremely competent. Unlike a certain chain brand with a royal-sounding name, which I do not want to properly name just in case, I have heard quite a few stories about their lack of skill. Story 61. Hair has become more of a statement than in the past, which means that barbers have to invest more money in higher quality training programs and into their shops to create the right atmosphere. People are getting their haircuts sometimes every 2 weeks to maintain their style. Putting all of these factors together results in a higher price. There are still old-school barbers, but they may not do as good a job. Story 62. I paid €14 for a haircut today with no appointment in Greece, where inflation is very high. $50? Huh? Story 63. I get a haircut every 4 weeks. The sport clips that I frequent has one person who always has a line, usually consisting of people who signed in on the app in advance, and the wait lasts for 2 to 4 hours. Everyone else who works there is picking up the slack, but the store is still promoting the online sign-up in advance model of business. Story 64. I like booking appointments because I can set them during my lunch break. If I went to a walk-in clinic during my lunch break, my chances of an acceptable wait time would be 50-50. Story 65. The barbershop I go to accepts walk-ins. You get whichever barber is available next, and every time I go, the seating is immediate. The haircut costs $15. I tip $10 on top of that. Story 66. Every 3 to 4 months, I check in advance and make the 10-minute drive. After about 4 weeks, they start emailing coupons. Eventually, one worth 20% comes in, so I go back. Story 67. Not black and don't have a complicated haircut. I am not super worried about my haircut, so I just go to Great Clips. Walk-in service is pretty fast if I get there early. I ask for a fade with a 2 on the sides and as short as they can with scissors on top. I also don't really care if it's perfect since I wear a hat a lot. I haven't been disappointed in years, so I keep walking in about once a month. Some people are really finicky about their hair, so I can see how barbers are busy. Story 68. Just cut it yourself. It is pretty easy with your own clippers unless you have either a strange hair type or need to prepare for the Hollywood red carpet. It is perfectly fine for ordinary day-to-day use. Once you learn to clean it up every 2 weeks to maintain a constant style, it takes about 10 minutes. Story 69. I go to a unisex salon. It is the same price as all the local walk-in barbershops and chains without any hassle. I can make appointments online and reschedule easily. They offer reduced pricing for 30-minute touch-ups. They serve complimentary local beer and SodaStream and have a cool shop dog. Sometimes I can get my son in as well, and we do 2 appointments in a row. Traditional barber shops are cool but no longer work for me. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.